call the roll. Ms. Kiss, thank you.
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Good morning. Okay. Trustee Abrego. Here. Governor Brown, Trustee Carney. Here. Trustee Day. Trustee Eisen.
Here.
Trustee Fagan. Here. Trustee Farrar. Here. Trustee Furstenberg. Here. Trustee Campbell. Here. Trustee Melendez de Santana. Here. Trustee Morales.
Here.
Lieutenant Governor Newsom. Trustee Nyland.
Here.
Trustee Norton. Here. Speaker Rendon. Trustee Reyes Salinas. Trustee Simon, Trustee Stepanek, Trustee Taylor, Superintendent Torlakson, Trustee White, Chancellor White.
Present.
Chair Eisen, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. So this is the time in which we hear from public speakers. As I explained yesterday, we have quite a number of public speakers this morning. You remember that I discussed that we have to allocate our 30 minutes of time among the speakers. So in this case, each speaker will have 1.5 minutes. The time is up on the podium and up on the wall. I apologize, but that is due to the number of speakers that we have. You'll get, I guess, a little buzzer has been added to help you keep track of time. We really appreciate you paying attention to that if you can. Ms. Kiss, can you call the speakers?
Yes, thank you. And if I may, we had a speaker that will not be speaking, Tessie Reese. So speakers, we actually can, you can have 2 minutes. So if we can adjust the timing, please. We'll begin with William Blischke, Marisha Corinne, and Pat Gant.
Good morning again. I'm William Blischke, the president of CSU IRFA. And as you know, the CSU is one of the largest higher education systems in the country, and CSU IRFA is the largest retired and emeritus faculty and staff association in the country. And Barry Pasternak, our vice president, says probably not only in the country, but in the planet, if not the galaxy. So anyway, we are large. We represent thousands of students. There was an article in the Daily Breeze, a front page article this morning about the graduate initiative, very positive article, great, didn't mention any of the things that I said or my guest commentary. Also had an article about the voter registration, so good stuff. In case you're interested in what CSU IRFA, since I have 2 minutes, is all about, you can go to irfa.org, our website, and that explains it. It also has a copy of our quarterly newsletter, which is called The Reporter, and the last one came out in September, and I have a mandatory article in there called From the President, and I also have one about the second very positive thing I want to talk about. The two things, and you have a printout, two-sided printout. One thing I want to talk about is the 18 different types of volunteer efforts that retired faculty and emeritus faculty and staff engage in what we call our campus affiliates at the campus level. And I won't go through those 18 in my 2 minutes, but I want to mention a couple very specific recent things. I've encouraged them to be involved in the graduate initiative programs at each of the campuses. Also, we talked last time about the homeless and hungry students in the CSU, and I've encouraged them to get involved in that program. After yesterday, I've encouraged them to be involved in the voter registration drive. And one of the things, my 2 minutes is up? Oh, geez. Well, the other thing talks about the CSU Million Shoe campaign, and there's a letter that I've sent to the chancellor about that. You can read the background of the CSU Million Shoe campaign, which is a very innovative new goal of CSU IRFA. Thank you. 2 minutes go so fast.
Thank you. Marisha Corinne. Okay, then Pat Gant, Loretta Seva Atesi, and Sergio Roldan.
Good morning. I'm Pat Gant, president of the California State University Employees Union, representing over 15,000 rank and file staff in the CSU system. I was encouraged by the discussion yesterday and your endorsement of Prop 55, much like you did with Prop 30. The CSUAU endorsed Prop 55 earlier this year because we know how important it is to basically make sure that we have ongoing revenue stream to make sure that our budgets are stable and hopefully increasing to provide the services to the students. Funding is an ongoing challenge for the CSU because we are in the 11% of the budget that is discretionary, and it is the first thing cut in a budget crisis and the last thing funded when revenue returns. I think we have all experienced that except for 1 year. The next part of it is that basically somewhere down the road we have to find and identify a dedicated funding resource, much like has happened for Prop 98, where higher education, with the exception of the community colleges, was excluded from the Prop 98 funding, which guarantees 40% of every tax dollar going to education. The master plan has got to be what drives our organization of the CSU and all of our supporting organizations or affiliate organizations, because that's what makes the CSU work. It's the accessibility and the affordability of the CSU to produce the workforce of tomorrow in California. That's our common interest. That's our main interest and should be our focus. I'm also intrigued by the discussions about possible legislation that actually has unintended consequences as part of an unfunded mandate. I encourage the trustees to be very vigilant on these unfunded mandates because we've experienced those in the past and they wreak havoc with basically the basic principles of the master plan as far as affordability, where money is diverted away from the instructional process or the students, and also the access where some students are restricted because of possible byproducts of legislation that was not well researched or referenced with the CSU. Thank you for your time. Look to see you in Sacramento.
Good morning. I just want to piggyback on what Pat just talked about. He's referring to the Glazer bill, and I learned from listening to the commentary yesterday that when there isn't much research done before putting forth legislation, then there's a lot of woulda, shoulda, couldas, that conversation that come after. So my topic that I wanted to talk to you about today was the Student Success Initiative, and hoping that we'll learn from the discussion yesterday about this bill being put forth by Glazer, that we need to do our homework up front, and create a good framework. And on my t-shirt, it says Team CSUU. So I just want to emphasize team. It takes teamwork. It takes collaboration. It takes input from all parties involved, meaning not just management, but also faculty, staff, and most especially students who are going to be affected. And we really want to, that's the main goal of this initiative, is to make sure that all of our students get through. It's not so much that they get through in 4 years. And I was saddened to hear that there was a certain part that I think would have been important in this legislation. If a student is approaching the 4 years and needs an extension, I think that it's important to have that in there. That if a student's just right there and needs one more class, one more semester, that should be in that legislation to allow students. Because believe it or not, being a student service professional and having worked at a campus for 27 years, some students will give up. They will give up. They're at the doorstep and they'll give up because they can't take out another loan. So please, let's work as a team and make sure that this initiative works for our students. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Good morning, Board Trustees. My name is Sergio Roldan. I serve as a statewide vice chair for Unit 5, representing grounds and custodial staff. I'm from the Cal State San Bernardino campus, where I've served for 24 years. On behalf of Unit 5 staff throughout the CSU system, I am here to convey the same concern we all share, and that is the outsourcing of our work. We continue to lose work as well as overtime opportunities due to outsourcing, a trend that must be reversed. Many grounds and custodial staff members already eke out a precarious existence, living just above the federal poverty line for a family of 4. Overtime opportunities will allow us to earn a little extra and make a big difference in our lives and those of our family members. Unified work could be kept in-house with effective planning, scheduling, and budgeting. Often we have to clean up after vendors that are contracted to do our work because they either didn't do a good job or didn't finish the project in time, resulting in additional costs for the CSU. We know our buildings and grounds much better than contract workers, and more importantly, we have a stake in the outcome and success of our respective campuses. Unlike contract workers, many of whom are not part or either of campus or many whom are not part of either the campus or broader community. Moreover, state employees provide a greater sense of security because of thorough background checks we receive compared to lax background check standards for contract workers. I pose the question to the board: would you rather have employed for you a custodian or a grounds worker who has a stake in the outcome and success of your campus, or a contract worker who is in many cases a fly-by-night employee without any bond or meaningful attachment to your campus? I challenge the board to make a concerted effort to keep unified work in-house and to realize the importance of grounds and custodial staff who maintain our campuses day in and day out in all types of weather conditions, from rain to wind to extreme heat and cold. As you know, having an attractive campus with clean facilities, including restrooms, offices, laboratories, and classrooms, computer labs, and study spaces play a critical role in the recruitment and retention and talent of faculty, staff, and students. Thank you. One more thing, and in closing, I want to congratulate Dr. Morales for receiving Mexico's highest honor, the Oatley Award, for his contributions to higher learning by a Hispanic leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Smith, Ricardo Uch, Elizabeth Sanchez, and Andrea Juarez.
Hello, Susan Smith, Cal State Fullerton. As always, go Titans. I typically seem to draw the short straw here in talking about tough topics. I appreciate the comments that were made yesterday in support of the comments made by the public. However, I want to address some concerns with those statements. We listen very carefully when we attend these proceedings and take in all of your speech, including comments made by Chancellor White yesterday about raising up our students to deal with ambiguities in life once they go out there. And I think one of those ambiguities in life and one of its most difficult challenges is protecting our rights to free speech. The mission of universities is to educate students into being clear thinkers, speakers, and writers. And I would think that the Chancellor's Office and the Board of Trustees would want to support the right of speakers to come here and talk about subjects that interest them and that they consider to be an item of interest for you. With that being said, I know it's tremendously difficult for you to sit there and listen to what you may consider personal grievances, sob stories, and other items, but not just speaking from a labor perspective, from a student perspective also, that they may consider this to be the highest authority or the court of final authority and maybe their only opportunity to gain your attention. Over the past 4 years, I think you, as well as all of the campus presidents, have made tremendous strides in being responsive to those needs. I've seen campus presidents get up from their seats to go after a student or other member of the public to engage them in conversation. That is an important conversation, one that I support and one that I'm ever so grateful for. And finally, I don't want you to think that this is all criticism from me because, as I said, I understand where you are. It's difficult to constantly feel like you're being attacked and criticized. So I will tell you something that one of our leaders says to me frequently when I want to complain about listening to members or other people. He says, "Welcome to leadership." Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ricardo Uch. My team is California State University Employees Union. Besides leading Benchwarmer, I'm also the vice chair for Bargaining Unit Council Unit 9. I just started my 32nd year of service in May. I am an operations specialist expert. I wanted to talk up to you about the sponsored legislation from CSUEU, AB 2386, Williams. This will allow a CSU classified staff employee to serve as a member of the CSU Board of Trustees. It is now on the governor's desk. What we seek in this is to increase the transparency of this board. This will also allow us to work together on many of our common goals, such as what we talked about, Proposition 55. Yesterday at 3:15 p.m., the board was talking about it, and they're going to talk about it later on again, later this morning. The CSU EU Board of Directors has endorsed a Proposition 55, an initiative of the November ballot designed to extend a higher income tax on upper income earners, freeing up funds to support the public education. Yes, we get it. We know that we need those funds in order to continue to run the universities, all 23 of them, at the top level. I'm an operations specialist. I worked at data centers. Yes, we need to fund these data centers. Data centers are more important information. It affects every single employee. I'm not speaking just about data centers. I'm speaking about our records keepers. I'm speaking about our financial aid people. These are the people we support, and we understand the funding. We understand the need to provide a better service to the students, and our staff is dedicated and committed to providing the best service we possibly can. Thank you.
Hello. All right. Hi. Hi, my name is Liz Sanchez. I'm a proud SQE member and a returning customer from Cal State Fullerton. All right, so I was taking a journey through the many pages of the BOT agenda, and I stumbled across a page and a half of content describing documented hate crimes in the CSU system. It was noted that about 10 cases occurred within the last school year, and I suppose that's pretty good when you're overlooking the safety of thousands of students. But y'all, I have to give you my opinion on the matter. As a student activist and an ASI director, I spent a lot of times with different communities on campus, and I think there's a lot of underreported and even ignored acts of discrimination that has the potential to lead up to a hate crime. Some of this includes transgender folk attempting to engage in Greek life and sport teams. Last school year, I can report that a genderqueer student wanted to join a fraternity and they were met with hostility. They attempted to report this incident to Greek life, yet they were told that fraternities have the right to discriminate. Now, another community that whose educational experience is being hindered is the Muslim community. They report high levels of stress from constant internal battles of negotiating their identity to not trigger other students. Now, this next part, I really need you all to hear me. Some Muslim students share that if they knew what the world would be like in a post-9/11 world, if given the chance, they may not choose to be born in such a culture due to the heavy social burden of other people's prejudice and hate. In this conversation, I asked if the CSU could offer to do anything for them, what would it be? One replied that a religious center would be nice, but the violence that has occurred to mosques and similar places of gathering is not worth the request. Instead, they rather live in a life of silence to not stir up trouble. If you ask me, queer or Muslim, neither student is going to have the full Cal State experience because admins tend to run away from controversy. Now, I want to bring this full circle. I know you're all going to be discussing tuition and budget soon. In fact, yesterday, a representative of the Academic Senate informed ASI of the potential budget cuts that may ensue because of the faculty pay increase. She asserted the money has to come from somewhere. Yet here's the thing. We all know there's millions of dollars running through this system, but the way it's allocated and spent is so damn irresponsible. How about instead of placing blame on the faculty, admins take a cut in their salaries, stop spending private donation on parties for the rich? It's important to finance and care for the well-being of faculty because due to their care and teachings, students are able to provide empathy and critical thought within social justice movements for intersectional identities. But instead, we are in a system where our administrators are the rich and powerful, and the funny thing is, all I've learned from all of you is that someone is always behind me, ready to take every dollar from my pocket.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Karen. I'm here speaking today on behalf of someone. Well, not someone else, but okay. I'm talking a lot. I guess I'm still like waking up. I've been early. But I'm here as a student from Cal State San Marcos. Hi, President Haynes. So I'm here actually to talk about the graduation initiative that is starting to be discussed. Doesn't really address the needs of students truly, which are financial and not enough classes being offered. So there's this dilemma, right? Why aren't students graduating in 4 years? I feel like this is something that's actually really close to my heart because I'm going on post 5 years of trying to get my degree. And so some people might think, well, students should just have money and time to be able to spend time in classes. But that's just not the reality, right? A lot of the students in our student body are working class students. We're students of color, we're undocumented immigrant youth. And that's the whole beauty of having the California State University, right? It's supposed to be the people's university. So why is it that we're talking about possibly even having initiatives to push students who sometimes it does take a while to be able to go to class. It does take a while to be able to get your degree. Why is there conversations that would really push these students out of the possibility of getting a degree? I want to share too, even on my college campus, we were able to hire a sexual assault advocate just this last year, which is really huge. But as a survivor myself, and one of the reasons why it took me so long to be finishing school was because of my case. It was because I didn't have support at home. I had to work multiple jobs. I was homeless. I was dealing with this case. So again, we're talking about very vulnerable populations, and this is why so many students take a long time to finish, right? It's not a reflection of students not wanting their education, because they're there for that reason of getting the education. And just this last month at the Board of Trustees meeting, there's conversations about a study that was done that claimed that 1 in 10 students are homeless and 1 out of 3 are food insecure. So again, this reflects the student populations that we have. So why is it that we are pushing out some of the neediest students from our universities in this goal to achieve higher graduation goals? Honestly, it's kind of shameful. And it's really concerning, and that's why we came all the way from San Diego to be here today and to talk about this and to offer a solution to this dilemma, and hopefully you'll appreciate it. So we can offer more classes, we can have more tenure faculty, we can have more full-time faculty, and that will take care of the classes that we need. And we can also make sure that we provide comprehensive financial aid services to
Can you
students.
please wrap up your comments? You're beyond the 2 minutes.
All right, but thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Sandra Proy, Megan Bronson, Nick Bockelman. And again, thank you to all the speakers so far. Again, you have 2 minutes. When you hear the buzzer, we do ask that you please yield the mic to the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Make sure it's working. Okay. Good morning. I'm Sandy Proy. I'm the president of UAW 4123, representing all the 10,000 academic student employees in the CSU system. We've been in bargaining this summer with CSU administration to end poverty and homelessness, like our friends at SQE talked about, not only in students, but also in academic student employees who are your TAs, GAs, and your tutors on all the campuses. We've received many testimonials from across the CSU system where students and academic student employees have talked about how poor they are and how poverty affects them. Most of us make less than $1,000 a month, and that's if you're lucky. And some of us make less than minimum wage. The tutors make $12 an hour in places like LA and San Francisco, where the minimum wage is $15 an hour. So we make less than someone who works at, let's say, McDonald's or In-N-Out. So this summer, we've been asking for a living wage along with tuition waivers to help improve our working conditions, which are the learning conditions of our students. So finally last week, we received CSU bargaining team's counteroffer. It was for a 2% pay increase for TAs and GAs and a 25-cent wage increase for ISAs, with a refusal to even engage in a conversation about tuition waivers. I mean, call me crazy, but 2% of nothing still seems like nothing to me. We're appalled, we're angry, we're disappointed, especially after research at Fresno State and at San Jose State and at other campuses have shown that academic student employees, your TAs, GAs, and tutors, actually are essential in improving the 4-year graduation rate at CSU, something we've been talking about for quite a while, right? We are appalled at the kind of disregard with which the administration and the bargaining team seem to hold its 10,000 academic student employees. How are we supposed to keep helping students graduate on time in 4 years, and while focusing on our graduation, whether it's 2 years or 4 years, while many of us are being deprived of the very basic needs of food and shelter. So last week, a tutor at Fresno State asked me, if the administration has the money, I don't understand. Why don't they let us students eat something better than cup of noodles? So today, I, along with our 10,000 members and our friends at SQE, ask you the same question. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Megan Bronson, and I'm a tutor at Fresno State, and I am that statistic that says 25% of state students have faced food scarcity. I am that statistic that says 10% of state students have been homeless at any given time. 2015 was a rough year for me. I came out of the closet and I promptly lost my home. I'd been working as a tutor for the Fresno State Writing Center, and after I lost my home, I had to learn how to survive. I managed to get a job at the school newspaper. I found a retail job. I struggled to keep my head above water as winter came, and there would be no more classes for me to tutor. I moved 4 times in 1 year. I lived in and out of my car and ate primarily out of the Fresno State student cupboard. I lost nearly everything I couldn't sell, and I own on Craigslist as I tried to make rent with the 30-ish hours I cultivated at 3 different jobs while being a full-time student. Only so many places will hire you when your availability is patchy because your class schedule is awkward. But you can't just quit the tutor job or the newspaper job because those jobs will help you sustain yourself professionally. And you can't quit school because you know you probably wouldn't go back. So you opt to be poor for the hope that these jobs will become stepping stones into a higher paying future. But the truth is, an in-and-out employee makes the same as a CSU tutor, and they get more hours. And they also have the opportunity for raises up to $15, which I don't even have. As a tutor, the CSU system has told me that the specialization in my studies is worth less than the skills necessary in the food service industry. I live paycheck to paycheck, and any bill, even the ones as small as my car registration, put me back. Someone told me that I must be making a livable wage if I'm still alive. But what kind of life is it when opening my PG&E bill gives me high blood pressure? Or when I cannot attend a conference that I was accepted to because I can't afford to pay the fees up front, even though my university would reimburse me later? What kind of education is that? In some ways, I am the average student. I'm in debt. I'm a first-generation college student. I'm always working at least 2 part-time jobs. In other ways, I'm not the average student. I'm privileged by the color of my skin. I'm privileged that I'm a native English speaker. I'm privileged because my name is Megan and that it's easy to pronounce. I'm lucky to be able to find multiple jobs. I'm lucky that my university has a student cupboard in which I was able to survive out of. I'm lucky that rent in Fresno is some of the lowest in California. So as I stand here and tell you how lucky and privileged I am, I want you to think of the students who are not so lucky and who can't be here. They are state students. They work for you. Please work for them in the form of livable wages and tuition waivers.
Hello, my name is Jeanette. I am currently a second-year student at Cal State Fullerton, where I'm getting my master's degree in sociology and where I also work as a graduate assistant for the sociology department. My experience has been one where I feel the dread of guilt and stress because my parents work out of our garage. They sew, they stitch, and upholster furniture and cars for about 14 hours a day. So I constantly question whether or not I should continue my education because although I am able to escape my parents' reality, by going to school, I cannot contribute as much as I would want to because I'm working towards my education instead. My experience is also one of fear and anxiety. Even though there have been multiple crime reports this year on or close to campus that included assault, battery, robbery, and sexual assault, I have to risk my safety by parking 1 mile off campus because I can't afford to buy a parking permit. The cost of tuition, fees, and books just made that seem like a luxury. I am not houseless and I do not starve, and I recognize that I am more fortunate than other students who do face these realities. However, 1 in 10 of my peers are houseless, 1 in 4 do starve and experience food scarcity. These testimonies are important, and we need to work towards ameliorating these students' living conditions, as well as situations that revolve around the compromises that students have to make in order to continue their education. We should not have to compromise our safety or our nourishment. We should not have to grow accustomed to student debt after we graduate, which has become a normalized aspect of education. We should not feel as though we are being punished because we choose to continue our education. Despite what some may believe, we don't want handouts. We want a fair fighting chance. We are the backbone of this educational institution, and we should not be made to feel as though we are being punished because we choose to go to school.
Hello. My name is Nick Bockelman. I'm a grad student at Cal State Fullerton. I'm a graphic design major. And, I've been a student for over 7 years. And in that time, I've experienced some pretty extreme setbacks due to the rising tuition at the CSUs. Originally, I attended a private college. And, at some point, I began assuming a lot of debt, a large mass of debt. And so I began searching the CSUs because I knew that I would be getting a better deal and I'd be able to have a more affordable education. But as I began matriculating in the CSUs, I began to see that I wasn't really getting that advantage. I was still found myself pulling out more loans. And some of these loans are as high as 4% interest rate. And, I found myself right back in the same situation of being saddled in debt, over 16 grand going to a CSU. The CSUs originally conceived as being like a great deal for Californians, especially as an affordable education. I find that many students, that's no longer the case for them. It's not really as strong of a pull as it was before. And so, as a graduate student and a TA, most of the paychecks that I make as a TA go right back to the university to pay for my tuition, but that doesn't include my cost of living. So over the course of 2 years, I've completely wiped out my savings just trying to keep up with my cost of living, not including my cost of tuition. So, I implore you guys, please consider tuition waivers for especially your grad students, your TAs, your ISAs, and give us an affordable education. Thank you.
Lydia Wood.
Thank you. My name is Lydia, and I'm a PhD student studying geography at SDSU. I've been a graduate student for 6 years, completing both a master's and now PhD. My testimony today draws from my own experiences, as well as the experiences of my friends and peers who have struggled to varying degrees with educational costs and student debt. During my time at SDSU, I've incurred nearly $80,000 in debt and continue to amass more loans as I struggle with the rising cost of living in San Diego. My debt load is far lower than many of my graduate student peers who have amassed over $150,000 in student debt as they enter their 6th and sometimes 7th year as PhD students. My current stipend is less than $18,000 a year before taxes, cannot cover the cost of rent and living in San Diego. In fact, according to a recent livability study conducted by MIT, the approximate living wage for one adult in San Diego is $28,000 a year. When accounting for taxes and rising fees, my take-home salary is approximately $12,500 a year. Over 15% of my salary now goes back to the university in fees. Despite my debt and struggle with financial stress, I recognize and have seen that I am more fortunate than some of my friends and peers who lack the social support that allows them to access housing and adequate food on their stipend. One of my friends ended up crashing on my couch after sleeping in his car for a number of months because he couldn't afford rent on his TA stipend. This led to many run-ins with the police and bouts of illness. The impacts for me and my peers result in ever amassing debts that will likely follow us for years, if not decades, after we graduate. I've seen the stress of this debt, combined with the demanding teaching and research load, result in health issues, precarious living situation, and increased burnout that have extended or reduced their likelihood of degree completion. Many of us have had at times to seek outside employment, often in violation of contracts, to supplement our salary and loans just to make ends meet. For me, the experience of being a TA or a graduate student has turned what should be a positive and inspiring experience into a stressful, physically and emotionally straining and alienating experience. And in fact, I've heard the same thing from many of my PhD peers who have confided in me that they feel duped and deceived. So I urge you to do everything in your power to begin addressing the issue of grad student debt at CSU as a university system whose mission it is to provide an affordable and accessible education. The rising costs of debt are threatening this mission at the expense of thousands of students. The CSU system professes an honorable mission to provide an equitable, accessible, and affordable education to all who are prepared for and wish to participate in collegiate study. When 1 in 10 of your students are estimated to be homeless and another 1 in 4 are estimated to be food insecure, the CSU is desperately failing in this mission. If the university is serious about addressing student poverty and providing a positive educational experience, that does not come with the additional expense of poverty and debt, now is the time to take us seriously and to begin easing the burden of costs for students. Thank you.
Thank you, speakers and Chair Eisen. That concludes the public comment.
Thank you very much, and thanks to all of the public speakers. Your comments, as usual, are very thoughtful and very helpful and much appreciated. We now turn to the board chair report. Before I launch into that, I want to take a second to congratulate our trustee, Maggie White, who graduated this summer from Stanislaus State with a bachelor's degree in communication studies, and she is already, no grass grows under her feet. She is already deep into her master's program, which means she's still a student, which means she's still a student trustee. Congratulations, Maggie. I also want to welcome our newest student trustee, George Salinas. How are you? Trustee Salinas is also pursuing a master's degree, also in communication studies, but from Cal State Northridge. And as is our tradition, I yield the floor for a few comments from you.
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Good morning, everyone. My name is George Reyes Salinas. A little more about myself. I was born in Lima, Peru. I'm 23 years old. I am also a first-generation student of the CSU system. I go to Cal State Northridge. I'm getting my master's in communication studies. I did my undergrad in journalism with a minor in Spanish language journalism and recreation management. And I'm really excited to be here. I look forward to learning from a lot of you and working with you, but I'm even more excited to be listening to our students throughout the system. I'm honored to be able to represent them and communicate that with the board here, and looking forward to this coming years. Thank you.
All right. So when I was young, my sister and I, she's a year younger than I am, got into an argument about, of all things, what was the first month of the year. And I, of course, you know, I'm older, said, January is the first month of the year. She said, no, that's not right. I said, what do you mean? That is correct, January. She said, no, September is the first month of the year. September? Where'd you get that? I said. She said, everybody knows September's the first month of the year. That's when school starts. And, you know, she was onto something. There is a sense about September. New beginnings, excitement, and we certainly feel that this September, with 5 new presidents, we've received all kinds of reports about how enthusiastically they are being embraced by their campuses. It's really exciting. We have 18 other presidents who are coming up with all kinds of creative and out-of-the-box solutions for our graduation initiative, which we're going to hear a lot more about this afternoon and tomorrow at the symposium. So it is a really great sense of new beginnings here. I've been lucky in the last month to spend time on 3 different campuses. I was at Cal State Fullerton on Monday. Thank you, President Garcia, for setting me up with a whole series of incredible and stimulating conversations with community, with staff, with faculty, and of course with students. That was a great day. And last week I was at Sonoma State, where President Sakaki took me on a personal tour of a striking exhibit they now have at Sonoma State on the Japanese internment camps from World War II. And it was really touching because, of course, President Sakaki had family mementos that were part of that exhibition. It was really incredible. A month ago, I think it was, I was at Cal State Bakersfield, and that was an exciting time because I got to see the high-speed rail simulator. President Mitchell and I arm wrestled to see who could drive that train. I saw an actual Roadrunner, and all of you know how exciting that was for me. And in addition to the many pins that I was given, I saw the real thing. And I saw, do we have this photo? I want to show this photo to you because I saw it in a local newspaper. And I learned that just before my visit, President Mitchell had celebrated his 50th wedding anniversary with his beautiful wife, Barbara. Isn't that an amazing photo? I hope I can do that someday.
She gets all the credit.
He also celebrated his 12th year as the Cal State Bakersfield president, so 2 big anniversary. Congratulations, President Mitchell. So that was in the summer, and before we leave the summer, I want to talk a little bit about the summer event, the Olympics. And we spent a lot of time watching the Olympics. It was so much fun this year for me because I realized how big a connection the CSU has with the Olympics. We had, in 2014, one of our alums, Billie Jean King, was appointed by President Obama to be our representative at the Winter Olympics in Sochi. And this Olympics in Rio, in addition to all of the coaches and trainers and officials that came out of the CSU and who were at the Rio Olympics, we had 7 athletes who competed for Team USA, and they're up there. Whitney Ashley, who's from San Diego State, women's discus; Colton Brown, San Jose State, men's judo; Paul George, Fresno State gold medalist in men's basketball; David Lee, Long Beach, bronze medalist, men's volleyball; Marty Malloy, San Jose State women's judo; Casey Perry Glass, Sacramento State, bronze medalist in equestrian dressage. I hope I said that right. Kim Brody, Cal Poly Pomona, bronze medalist in skeet shooting. Kim is the first woman ever to medal in 6 Olympic Games. We also had 5 CSU alums compete for their native countries, not for Team USA. They came from Fullerton, Northridge, Sacramento, and San Luis Obispo, but they were competing for their teams from Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Puerto Rico, Great Britain, and Bulgaria. Isn't that amazing? They are Josh Akognan, Hafsutu Kamaro, Linda Morales, Joe Joyce, and Boris Novachkov. And that's not even the end of it. We had alums competing from Northridge and Dominguez Hills, Katie Holloway and David Garza in the Paralympics. And former San Jose State goalkeeper Sean Boyle competed at the 2016 Paralympics as well. And, you know, sometimes the Paralympics don't get as much attention as the actual Olympics. But this year, I wonder if any of you saw this story. The visually impaired runners in the 1,500-meter race, the first, second, third, and fourth place winners of that race beat the time of the gold medalist in the 1,500-meter race in the Olympics. That is incredible. I want to mention a particular moment in Olympic history. We have another famous photo from the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City, where our alums, John Carlos and Tommy Smith from San Jose State, gave what they have called a human rights salute on the platform after winning gold and bronze in the 200-meter race. Some will remember these athletes because they were part of a very famous track and field program out of San Jose State that earned that city the name Speed City. And no, it's not that kind of speed. over 29 years, that program produced 102 All-Americans and 27 Olympians. It was really first class, but it was disbanded in 1988 because of budget restrictions. And that was a sad thing to happen, but I have good news, which is that the new president of San Jose State, Mary Papazian, has made sure that we are going to have a new track and field program at San Jose State starting this fall. What a great first day. Thank you, President Papazian. Now I want to talk about other things that are going on a couple of our campuses. I wish I had all day, but I only have time to mention 3 things. These campuses are engaged in what I call the science of saving our planet. Humboldt State. Everybody knows that in the fields of forestry and wildlife conservation, there is no equal to Humboldt State. They are world-renowned, renowned in all of America. Their program is the best. They are doing some amazing things there. They have an alum, Bill Stanley, he's a 2013 alum, who discovered a new species of mammal. I know that doesn't sound, and here it is, the hero shrew. Isn't that cool? It's easy to discover new species of insects and fish, I can tell you that. It is not easy to discover new species of mammals. It is very rare that that happens. So he did that. It's named after Humboldt State's collections manager, a fellow named Torvald Holmes. So they're doing some incredible stuff. But the part that I really love about Humboldt State is that their students compete every year in a, it's called a quiz bowl, sponsored by the Wildlife Society. They have won this thing 11 times. And they have to go out there and compete and answer questions like this. And I thought I'd give you a couple of the questions to see if you can answer them. You ready? What biogeographical areas are separated by Wallace's Line? I felt good because I actually had heard of Wallace's Line. It's out there in Southeast Asia and Australia. Those are the 2 regions divided by Wallace's Line. One more, which is my personal favorite. What is the most common mating system in birds?
Good luck.
Anybody? Okay, get this. Monogamy. Monogamy is the answer. And our Humboldt State students knew that. So I can't wait to see how they do next year. I'm hoping they'll add me to the team. Cal Poly Pomona has been doing some amazing work in agricultural science. This year they unveiled this new greenhouse that you see in the slide. They are focusing on that greenhouse on a very special type of wasp. And why are they focusing on this wasp? Because it is the enemy of a pest that is virtually destroying the citrus industry in Florida and is threatening the citrus industry in California, which is a $2 billion industry. So Cal Poly Pomona, thank you, President Coley, has teamed up with the California Department of Food and Agriculture, and they are on the case and are going to solve this problem. Thank you. Finally, I want to talk about Stan State and congratulate them on the fact that in this last year, for the first time in America, they sponsored the world's lagomorph conference. You all know what a lagomorph is, don't you? They had 23 scientists from all over the world who came to Stan State to work on the issue of species extinction, and in particular with respect to, there's a lagomorph right there. It's a pika. Usually it's bunnies and rabbits and hares, but pikas are also in the category. They have a biology professor there, Patrick Kelledy, who leads the endangered species program at Stan State. He is himself a lagomorph expert. The riparian brush rabbit is his specialty. And it sounds maybe a little, like a lot of fun to have a bunny conference on your campus. But the work they are doing with respect to endangered species is really, really important work. I don't know if any of you heard this, but out of Australia, at the end of this summer, they documented the first species extinction that they can trace directly to climate change. So the fact that our campuses are working on this kind of, saving the planet, it's really, really important. Thank you to Stan State and their new president, Alan Jun. So I want to sort of wrap up by talking about the automotive industry. I know you thought that I was going to talk about them. I don't know if we should be talking about Tesla in particular, because they're definitely on the right side of things. But they are similar to us in this regard. They have been told that they need to get their 25 miles per gallon average up double by what year? 2025. They need to double their miles per gallon to somewhere in the 54.5 range. And as you can imagine, this was, a tense thing for the automotive industry. There was a lot of, it can't be done, this is too hard, gosh, that's awfully aggressive, etc. However, what happened was that it ignited innovation. It ignited innovation in the auto industry, and now we have them using glue instead of rivets because they're lighter, putting solar panels on the roofs of cars. They now use magnesium instead of titanium because it's lighter. And all the while, they are maintaining their core mission of providing a safe car for all of us. And at the end of this, if they achieve this goal, all of us will benefit. All of us will benefit. And I'm talking about our graduation initiative. Nobody's missing that point, are they? So I want to tell you that the other thing that is clear in the automotive industry example that I'm giving is that this innovation is not cheap. It's not free. It costs money. You need resources. So we are proposing a $75 million investment of state dollars this year and similar amounts for the following 5 years so that we can achieve our very important and aggressive goals. It is a relatively small percent of the allocation and investment California is already making in the CSU. I don't think we have anything but agreement on the fact that this is a reasonable, timely, and worthwhile, and frankly necessary investment that needs to be made in the CSU. So I am going to look forward to working with all of you to make sure that we receive the monies that we have asked for and that we can move forward on the great initiatives that we're going to hear more about this afternoon and tomorrow. Thank you very much. Chancellor's report.
Well, thank you, Chair Eisen. I wish to first commend you for your commitment to visit all 23 campuses, both in person and through your board reports. When you're asking the definition of lagomorph, I'm glad you set at least my head straight, because I thought it was somebody who was pursuing degrees slower than their life's reality allows. But now I know better what a lagomorph is. I also extend my congratulations to each of our Olympians and Paralympians that competed during the summer games and thank them for representing the California State University. I welcome the incoming presidents of Channel Islands and San Jose, Erica Beck and Mary Papazian, to their first Board of Trustees meeting. And we look forward to your leadership. We hope we didn't scare you away with the discussions of yesterday and today. Also delighted to welcome James Miner to the CSU. James will be serving as a senior strategist for academic success and inclusive excellence, helping us achieve our graduation initiative 2025 targets. So welcome, James. We're delighted to have you with us. As Chair Eisen mentioned in her report, September is indeed an important time of the year. My son's first day of 7th grade started a few weeks ago. He was ready to go, crisp white shirt, along with all the new school supplies that make the first day so exciting. He caught up with some of his friends, and as 7th graders are inclined to do, began tossing back and forth a bottle of strawberry-flavored milk without the lid secured. Strawberry milk on a white shirt is never a good look, let alone on your first morning back to school. So as our new academic year unfolds across the 23 campuses, may we all avoid the strawberry milk on a white shirt kind of days. This month also marks a milestone for me personally. This is my 51st beginning of an academic year, going all the way back to my first day at Diablo Valley Community College. Starting on that first day in 1966 in my crisp white t-shirt, I've been on a college campus essentially every year since. And I had that same excitement today that I did 5 decades ago. I just hope no one tosses a bottle of strawberry milk in my direction. My excitement today is in knowing that 138,000 new students in the CSU this year, that includes freshmen, transfer, and graduate students, are just as excited and anxious for what lies ahead as I was in 1966. And while I know we each share in their excitement and their determination to improve their lives, we must also remember that their trail to success in academics and beyond is different from our own experience. We were reminded of this fact yesterday when we met the incredible 24 trustee scholars, and we will be reminded of this fact through commencement next June, when we estimate 110,000 students of the class of 2017 become alumni of this great university. The trail blazed by the class of 1970 is not the same trail as the class of 2016 or the class of 2020 or my youngest son's class of 2026. Each trail, each path is different. Our personal, academic, and professional journeys leading to this point, this day, is wholly unique to ourselves. Yet, while each trail and each trailblazer is different, one common point remains for all of us. California needs more college graduates. Our economy, society, and democracy relies on an educated population in order to maintain and strengthen our standing as the largest and most dynamic economy in the United States, and today, the 6th largest economy in the world. Our economic standing around the world and the success that comes with it is not serendipitous. This socioeconomic engine is fiercely Californian by design. It is the amalgamation of deliberate decisions made by political, business, and academic leaders many decades ago to break down the walls of higher education so that anyone capable and willing to do the work could enter and could succeed. We are the living results of those decisions back in the day, and at the same time, we have the incredible responsibility to continue to expand access to more communities, to foster new opportunities for students from all demographics to achieve, and to graduate more Californians than ever. In order to fulfill our responsibility, we must continue the momentum we started in 2009 and renewed last year and gave a boost to yesterday and today to improve our graduation rates and eliminate achievement gaps. And as we heard yesterday, the connection between the Graduation Initiative 2025 and our budget is unavoidable. As Elon Musk, founder of SpaceX and Tesla, will confirm, the biggest gains that lead to the greatest breakthroughs do not come without serious investment. And in this case, we ourselves are not building self-driving cars or reusable spaceships, although plenty of CSU alumni are building those things and so much more right here in California. But we are working on our own giant leap forward, our moonshot, to improve academic infrastructure leading to student success and timely graduation. But as mentioned, these pathways to degree today are varied and most won't resemble our own personal experiences. To put a face on this fact, I wish to end my report today by showing a video highlighting the incredible work of the Fresno State's Renaissance Scholars Program, which works to provide additional support for students that come from the foster system or were homeless. Now, this video was produced by Kleenex, and I assure you I'm not getting a tissue kickback by showing it, but it emphasizes the importance of holistic support for our students, going beyond the classroom and advising office, and making a simple yet incredibly meaningful difference. Justin?
I came to college my freshman year, I was a foster youth, and I didn't have my guardians because they were both in prison. Moving into the dorms and unpacking all my stuff, alone, and seeing other people with their families, it was tough for me because, I would have loved to have my family there. So that day I vowed that I would help prevent people from having to move into the dorms alone.
The Renaissance Scholars Program is an academic support program for students who've experienced foster care or homelessness. We provide students with a family on campus.
Some of us don't have the luxuries that most other students have.
People don't look at me and think, wow, she's homeless. Like, no, it's not always something you can see.
Moving into the dorms is the first home that some of them have had.
To be able to say, I'm going home is a big deal.
Thank you guys for coming this morning. Bringing you guys here, we want to make sure that you have some support, right? And that you guys know that you aren't alone. So we have some things here to help you guys get started. Some blankets, some toiletries, and notebooks to really get you settled in.
This is for you, to show you that we love you.
I'm so happy.
Oh my gosh. I'm not used to getting stuff like this. And we were excited over toilet paper, so that shows you how much it means to us.
I have everything that I need now.
This is so cute.
This situation gives them a sense of belonging to a family, and this was a reminder that we will be here to support them and help them as they go on to graduate.
It still hasn't registered, I don't think, that I'm now okay.
Well, where's the Kleenex? And I think we could do 22 more videos from 22 more campuses. I know we could. And that's the beauty of who we are. The issues that we have touched on over the past 2 days, student research, creative activity, the graduation rates, the high impact practices, the budget support, the philanthropy, these issues are so deeply intertwined and woven into the fabric of what makes the CSU a successful university. And that success is quantifiable by our own metrics, but also by third parties. And as we've seen in the most recent U.S. News and World Report rankings, which named many of our campuses, but let's just focus on Fresno for the moment, Fresno State as the top public university in the nation in graduation rate performance. Amazing achievement, Joe. Congratulations. And in addition to rankings released last month by Washington Monthly, which named the Bulldogs the 25th best university in the country overall. In fact, these rankings from U.S. News and from Washington Monthly are really a who's who of CSU, with Cal Poly San Luis Obispo ranked as the top public regional university in the West for the 24th consecutive year, and 6 campuses, San Luis, Pomona, San Jose, Long Beach, Chico, and Sonoma, ranked in the top 10, and many others in the top 25. An incredible honor and accomplishment for us all, so congratulations to the presidents and their staffs and faculty and students. Chair Eisen, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Chancellor. Now we will have the report of the Academic Senate. Dr. Miller.
Thank you. Excuse me. I don't think I've cried as much in this room in the last 2 days as I've cried in a long time. Nice way to set me up, Chancellor. Appreciate that. Last time I spoke to the board, I developed a theme grounded in Aristotle's observation, we are what we habitually do. This time I'm going to advance a few centuries and use a theme from a recently released movie to frame my remarks. I don't think it's going to be a spoiler alert. I don't think I need one because even if you haven't seen the movie, you all know how it turns out. The movie is Sully. It's named after pilot Chesley Sully Sullenberger, who landed an airliner in the Hudson River in 2009. Given all the flying that I do now, my daughter said I was crazy to go see a film about a flight that, shall we say, didn't go as planned. But I went because I love Tom Hanks. He attended Sacramento State, so I can say by extension I was supporting my campus by supporting the film. So I'm going to use some specific moments from that film to talk about what ASCSU did last week during its meetings. I'm going to talk about our resolutions as well as issues that dominated our discussion that didn't end up in the form of a resolution. And the first moment in the movie I'm going to isolate is when Katie Couric called Captain Sullenberger a hero. And she wasn't the only one. It was a common theme in news reports. But his response was, "I don't feel like a hero." His humility firmly enveloped an abiding expertise that can't be questioned. And that reminded me of the work of the Quantitative Reasoning Task Force. It was heroic. The task force members are humble about their work, but their expertise and the expertise of those with whom they consulted cannot be questioned. Because of that, ASCSU generated 3 resolutions on quantitative reasoning. The first is titled Receipt of the Quantitative Reasoning Report. And the reason it's titled that is because the Senate formally received the report so that it could be entered into the Senate record, and then we could take action on what's in the report if we think that that's prudent. The resolution also forwarded the report to the Chancellor's office with a request to begin discussions of the recommendations within the report. And 2 of the recommendations in the report had already been considered by the Senate in the past, which brings me to our second resolution. Implementation of Quantitative Reasoning Task Force recommendations that reflect items previously approved by the Academic Senate CSU. This resolution references prior actions by the Senate, which recommended a 4th year of high school quantitative reasoning be required for admission into the CSU, and the establishment of a Center for the Advancement of Instruction in Mathematics. It further asks that the Chancellor's Office and ASCSU partner on pursuing those recommendations. Finally, ASCSU discussed a resolution titled Endorsement of the Quantitative Reasoning Task Force Recommendation. This resolution was heard as a first reading, and action on it won't take place until our next meeting in November. That'll give senators time to discuss with their constituents the elements of the report that the Senate hasn't considered in the past. As I indicated when I spoke to you in July, conversations about quantitative reasoning will be ongoing, and faculty look forward to these curricular conversations, and we'll be happy to have a conversation here too. It might help you understand the Math Pathways discussion from yesterday's grad initiative presentation, taking advantage of Trustee Taylor's comment that he's excited to hear more and could talk about quantitative reasoning pathways all day. I don't have all day, so I'm going to move from the heroic work of the task force to the second connection I see to Sully. If you've seen the trailer, you know that prior to the water landing, the flight attendants shout to the passengers, "Brace, brace, brace." I think that same mantra could be shouted to the people of the state of California if Prop 55 doesn't pass. Yesterday, you all discussed how important passage of this proposition is, and the Senate concurs. That's why we unanimously passed a resolution titled Support of Proposition 55 on the November 2016 ballot, Tax Extension to Fund Education and Healthcare. I won't go into the reasons why, you know them. I'll just opine that if Prop 55 doesn't pass, the CSU will need to brace for impact. The third theme in the movie that helps me frame the actions of the statewide Senate is a comment made by Tom Hanks' character when he said he spent over 40 years in the air, but in the end, he's going to be judged on just 208 seconds. This is similar to how the Senate felt when we learned there were questions recently on general education. Questions that were raised by the governor, by the legislature, by board members. Questions about website clarity, transfer of GE courses, assessment, and so on. Just like Sully, we on the faculty have decades of experience in general education, and we hope that experience is valued, and we aren't judged on the last confusing website or student problem with transfer. To address those kinds of perceptions, last week we discussed 2 resolutions in first reading that we'll act on in November. The first is a response to Assembly Concurrent Resolution 158 by Assemblymember Holden, and the second is the establishment of a faculty work group to study general education. This latter resolution may be of particular interest to you because this group would be examining the value, quality, and diversity of GE curricula across the system. It would start by analyzing the data currently being collected in a system-wide survey of GE programs initiated by a recently released coded memorandum. It would also examine and offer suggestions on best practices in general education. And this effort would be entirely consistent with the graduation initiative presentation that took place yesterday, in particular the Serving Students Differently discussion and its emphasis on faculty-led curriculum review. We on the faculty welcome discussions about general education, including potentially the opportunity to talk with you in this room, and we trust our experience as developed over the decades won't be eclipsed by recent hiccups. Returning to my overall frame, I'll develop the fourth theme from Sully very briefly. It has to do with a moment in the film when Tom Hanks' character corrects an NTSB investigator who calls the incident a crash. He says it wasn't a crash, it was a forced water landing. That reminded me of the fact that words matter. What you call something, what it is and what it isn't, matters. There are a couple of things on the minds of faculty that matter to us very deeply, and the Senate talked about them quite a bit last week. We discussed the development of system-wide policies on academic freedom and intellectual property. We're working with Chancellor White and his cabinet to try to find a way for faculty to be involved in the development of those policies, because the words in those policies matter to us more than some of you might ever know. What is and isn't considered academic freedom, what is and isn't protected by intellectual property rights, those kinds of words are matters of academic safety and health to us, and we want to be involved in crafting the policies that go into the seat back pocket in front of us. We hope those discussions don't crash. We'd much prefer a smooth landing. Finally, there's one last theme I'd like to develop from the film. According to this fictional plot point, the NTSB conducts flight simulations and alleges that Sully could have had time to land at one of two airports instead of the river. He tells them, though, that their simulations haven't accounted for the added reaction time of a real live human being rather than a machine. This has been called the human factor. Once it was taken into account, the NTSB concludes that Sully did the right thing. And that scene reminded me of the graduation initiative. Remember yesterday during the discussion when Trustee Kim Bell made a joke about how those of us on the Graduation Advisory Committee spent our summer reviewing algorithms? Well, that reminded me of what blogger Paula Barton wrote about the movie. She said, when it came down to it, a gut feeling saved the 155 souls on board Flight 1549. It was the human factor. Few, if any of us, will ever face a decision comparable to what Captain Sully faced. But in this age of communication chatterbots, information algorithms, and data analysis, it's important to remember the human factor and how it impacts our work and our personal lives. What does this mean for the graduation initiative? It means that all of the algorithms and all of the data dashboards in the world can't replace understanding our students. They are the human factor. It means we aren't in a flight simulator under controlled conditions when we go home to dinner, no matter how many times we crash the plane. It means understanding more than just the numbers and the view from 30,000 feet. Our students are the human factor, and the decisions we make affect their lives. Instead of passing legislation and otherwise telling students we want them to graduate on time, how about if we say we want students to graduate in their time? Then maybe we won't be sending the message that they've failed if they don't graduate on time. Their time accounts for their complicated lives. Their time accounts for their choices and their constraints and their mistakes and their successes and everything else that goes into their university experience. Their time accounts for the human factor. Let's help them graduate their time. Chair Eisen, this concludes my remarks.
Thank you very much. It is a terrific movie and provides all kinds of wonderful metaphors for our lives. We now have the report of the CSU Alumni Council. Ms. Poole.
Thank you, and good morning, Chair Eisen. As the board continues to explore and expand the strategies the university is implementing to meet the needs of the Graduation Initiative 2025, I would like to share with you some of the ways that our alumni programs across the system are engaging students in ways that provide them additional support toward graduation. In August, the Alumni Council met at Cal State Northridge and explored ways technology can be utilized to engage alumni. San Jose State shared its use of an innovative online platform that it uses to host online networking events. One of the most popular in the series utilizes alumni volunteers to provide resume or LinkedIn profile reviews to students and fellow alumni. The alumni and students can be anywhere in the country, and the technology negates the barriers of geography, traffic, time constraints, and the apprehension some may feel when attending an event by themselves. These sessions consistently sell out, and this is just one example of how alumni programming can be creatively used to not just deepen the engagement of alumni with the university, but how alumni can contribute to our shared mission of student success. President Harrison, thank you for hosting the Alumni Council at CSUN and providing the venue for such important conversations to take place among all our campuses. Your staff are to be commended for being such wonderful hosts in August. Another way students are engaging through alumni programs is through our in-person events. Last week, the CSU had over 230 alumni and friends registered for Back to College Night in Washington, D.C. This is always a great alumni networking event that brings together graduates from all campuses, but we are especially proud of the strong tradition of student participation. CSSA leaders attended the event around their busy schedule of legislative visits, and Panetta congressional interns often volunteer to staff their campus table, giving them the opportunity to interact with alumni who have built their careers in the nation's capital. These experiences bring value to a student's learning and allow our alumni to see the types of exceptional students that make up today's university. It's a true win-win. Over the coming year, I'll continue to share with you ways we have found success in alumni programs supporting students, but I also challenge the trustees, CSSA, the Academic Senate, and our presidents to consider ways that our 3.2 million alumni can be an added valuable tool in providing what our students need to achieve their degree. We know the barriers. We know what works and what doesn't work. We've been there, and we can help. I know Trustee Nylon shares my passion for growing alumni contributions to student success. Dr. Blanchard, I look forward to joining you at the graduation symposium later today and tomorrow and being a part of the solution. Alumni can be an additional human factor for you. Yesterday, we saw 24 stellar examples of what dedication to academic rigor, service to community, and perseverance looks like when we met the 2016 Trustee Award recipients. Every year when I meet these students, I'm reminded of how they are exactly what the CSU is about, working hard, giving of yourself to others, and achieving your goals. Today, I'm very proud to introduce to you our alumni guest speaker, John Bagnaris, a 2013 recipient of the Trustees Award for Outstanding Achievement. John is a double graduate of CSU Dominguez Hills, having earned his bachelor's and master's degrees in sociology. Today, John works for the Veterans Administration in Los Angeles with veterans experiencing homelessness and also works in the community as a facilitator for DUI classes. We are so honored to have John with us today to share his CSU story. John.
Good morning. My name is John Bagnaris. I spent 22 years of my adult life incarcerated for a crime I did not commit. After being paroled in 2007, I started working construction as a laborer, making $10 an hour. After working 9 months and doing intense labor, I recall one afternoon the promise I made to the parole board that if I was to ever get parole, I would go back to school to put myself in a position where I can be of service to others. I started going to school at West LA College for alcohol and drug studies. After 2 years, I completed those required classes and took a state exam to become a certified drug counselor. I knew there was more work for me to do. Therefore, with the help of a counselor, I applied for the CSU system. I was accepted to Cal State Dominguez. I chose sociology as a major because I wanted to understand how social institutions such as jails, prisons, courts, and schools affected the lives of minorities, particularly African Americans. My experience at Cal State Dominguez was very rewarding. I had wonderful professors that accepted me with open arms and was willing to assist me in all my endeavors to understand myself and some of the choices I made in my life that took me down this road to imprisonment. I completed my undergrad degree in sociology, earning honors in the major. I was encouraged to press on and complete my master's in sociology. At this point in my life, I wanted to teach. However, my life moved in a different direction during the last semester of completing my master's degree. I was offered a job at the Veterans Administration to work as a social science technician. My job consisted of going into the communities in search of homeless veterans. While I'm not exactly teaching, I am being of service to others. My job at times can be rewarding when I'm able to get a homeless veteran off the street who has been homeless for 5, 10, even 15 years. I also work part-time as a facilitator for DUI classes, utilizing my certification as a drug counselor. While I enjoy both my jobs, there is still a burning desire to do more. In closing, I am truly grateful for the CSU system for giving me the opportunity to accomplish the things I have accomplished thus far. I am grateful to be a past recipient of the CSU Trustee Award for Outstanding Achievement. It gives a person with my past hope that good still exists in spite of the mistakes one can make in their life. I am grateful and honored that I was chosen by my president, Mr. Hagan, to be a part of such a memorable event. When I think of my past struggles, I think of two writers, Dr. Martin Luther King, who wrote, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in time of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in times of challenge and controversy." I also think of Khalil Gibran, who wrote, "We create our joys as well as our sorrows long before we experience them." Those two things resonate with my life daily. And I just want to say I am thankful for the CSU for giving me back my life. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We are so proud to have you as a member of the CSU alumni family. And thank you for giving back by being with us today and for everything that you are doing for the veterans and for your community. Chair Eisen, that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that amazing story. The definition of hero expands when we hear stories like that. Thank you so much. Now we have the report of the CSSA. President Lopez.
Thank you, Chair Eisen. Good morning. And as always, CSSA is grateful for the opportunity to give a report and have a platform for the student voice at these Board of Trustees meetings. Since the last Board of Trustees meeting, we've had held 2 plenary meetings and have hired our Assistant Director of Governmental Relations, Jared Giarusso, who is standing behind me. Yeah. Thanks, Jared. This past August, the annual CS Unity event was held at CSU San Marcos. This event brought out over 200 student leaders from across the CSU and welcomed keynote speaker, Assembly Member Shirley Weber. This 3-day event included workshops such as improving advocacy, working together, working with administration, loving your job, and developing shared governance on your campus. After CS Unity, we concluded the weekend with a 1-day plenary. This past week, some of the CSSA staff and members of the executive team traveled to Washington, D.C. During this visit, we met with Young Invincibles, National Campus Leadership Council, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, Congresswoman Matsui, Congressman Hunter, Congressman Swalwell, and Congressman DeSaulnier. During these visits, we conversed on topics such as year-round Pell, food and housing insecurity, and active military students. Additionally, we had the opportunity to attend Back to College Night, an event that brings together alumni from colleges and universities from across California, where we were able to connect with alumni from CSU campuses who are currently working in DC. I'd like to thank Aaron Moore and the CSU Alumni Council for having us. Following our DC trip, we flew back to California to attend our plenary meeting, which was held this past weekend at San Diego State University. During our September plenary meeting, the governing board took action on approving our 2016-2017 policy agenda. Some of the priorities that have clearly been most important to the students and their ability to prosper on our campuses are seen throughout this policy agenda. The governing board also reviewed Prop 55 and took action of support. Lastly, the governing board created 3 ad hoc committees focusing on sustainability efforts, research and assessment, and veteran affairs. At the last Board of Trustees meeting, I spoke to y'all about shared governance and how it is an opportunity for all of us in this room to redefine that term. With this being said, CSSA has initiated these talks and are currently working on a few different projects that will help redefine shared governance throughout the CSU system. The first project that we are currently working on is to actually have conversations with the governing board on how they define the term shared governance. We began this conversation last month by asking the ASI presidents to send in their proposed definition of shared governance. Following that conversation, the board discussed 3 potential definitions that we hope to approve at our next plenary meeting. The second project that we are working on is the creation of a letter of mutual agreement, which involves both the university president and the student body president. This letter contains opportunities for both parties to engage in effective shared governance on their campus. For example, one of the opportunities is monthly one-on-one meetings between the university president and the student body president. This is also a great opportunity for the university president to introduce their executive cabinet to the associated students. Before moving on, I wanted to take this time to thank some of the task force members who are present and who have helped get this project rolling. President Haynes from San Marcos, President Marisha from East Bay, President Hutchinson from Chico, and my chair, Isabel Franz. As you can see, I am a strong believer in shaping shared governance, and I am 100% committed to doing our best and to ensure that our students are being heard. With this being said, I wanted to end my report with the quote that I found on the California State University website. The CSU makes every effort to keep students' costs to a minimum. Over the past 5 years, there has only been 1 year which the CSU has been fully funded by the state. As the voice of over 470,000 students, I call upon our state legislators to invest in the CSU system and to provide a fully funded budget for the 2017-2018 academic year. The California State Student Association pledges to advocate for a fully funded budget to ensure that the burden of the state's disinvestment in higher education is not placed on the backs of hardworking students who cannot afford an increase in tuition. We must all come together and show our state legislators that we know what it means to collaborate with one another and that we are the CSU and that we are here for our students. With that, Chair Eisen, I conclude my report. Thank you.
All right, it's now time for the board to consider the items listed on the consent agenda. All of the committee items requiring full board approval are listed on the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any item from the consent agenda for separate discussion? All right, then may I have a motion to approve all of the items listed on the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Second, all in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you. The items listed on the consent agenda are approved. Okay. We do have one action item on today's discussion agenda, the conferral of the title of President Emeritus to Mohammed Kayomi. He cannot be in attendance, but the conferral of the title of the President Emeritus to Mohammed H. Kayomi is an action item before the board. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. The action item to confer the title of President Emeritus to Mohammed H. Kayomi is approved. At this time, the board will adjourn into closed session to discuss executive personnel matters. The board will reconvene for their next regularly scheduled meeting on November 15 and 16, 2016. Notice of the meeting will go out in advance, 10 days in advance.
Well done. 10:04. My
Very good chancellor's report. I love the